Pearl Harbor, the day America was pulled into World War II. December 7th, 1941, began like any other peaceful Sunday morning in Hawaii. The skies above Pearl Harbor were clear. The waters were calm. Thousands of American sailors, soldiers, and civilians were enjoying a quiet weekend. Some were still asleep in their bunks. Others were eating breakfast, attending church services, or writing letters home to their families. No one knew that within a few hours, the United States would be dragged into one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. Far across the Pacific Ocean, a powerful Japanese naval force was already moving toward Hawaii. For months, tensions between the United States and Japan had been growing. Japan had been expanding its empire across Asia, while the United States imposed economic sanctions and restrictions that threatened Japan's access to critical resources. Japanese military leaders believed that war with America was becoming unavoidable. Their plan was simple but incredibly dangerous. Strike first, destroy America's Pacific Fleet, cripple its ability to fight back, and buy enough time for Japan to expand throughout Asia and the Pacific. In complete secrecy, 6 Japanese aircraft carriers crossed thousands of miles of ocean. Hundreds of aircraft waited on their decks, prepared for a mission that would change history forever. As dawn approached on December 7th, the pilots received their final orders. The attack was about to begin. At approximately 7:55 in the morning, the first wave of Japanese aircraft appeared over Pearl Harbor. Many Americans initially believed the planes were part of a military exercise. Then the bombs began to fall. The peaceful morning instantly transformed into chaos. Explosions ripped through the harbor. Sirens screamed. Buildings shook. Ships erupted in flames. Sailors rushed from their quarters without knowing what was happening. Some were still pulling on their uniforms as they ran toward battle stations. Others grabbed rifles and machine guns, desperately trying to defend the harbor. The attack was fast, coordinated, and devastating. Japanese dive bombers targeted battleships. Fighter aircraft strafed airfields. Torpedo bombers flew dangerously low over the water before releasing their deadly weapons. One of the primary targets was Battleship Row, where several American battleships sat anchored side by side. Among them was the USS Arizona. At approximately 8:06 a.m., a bomb penetrated the ship near its ammunition storage area. Seconds later, a massive explosion tore through the vessel. The blast was so powerful that it shattered the ship from within. A gigantic fireball shot into the sky. More than 1,000 sailors and Marines aboard the Arizona were killed almost instantly. Many never even saw what hit them. The USS Arizona became one of the most tragic symbols of the attack. Nearby, other ships were also fighting for survival. The USS Oklahoma was struck by multiple torpedoes. The massive battleship began to roll over. Sailors trapped inside desperately searched for escape routes as the vessel capsized. Some pounded on the steel hull from within, hoping rescuers would hear them. Many never made it out alive. Throughout the harbor, thick black smoke covered the sky. Burning oil spread across the water. Men jumped into the sea to escape explosions and flames. Some swam through oil-covered waters while debris rained around them. Others pulled injured shipmates to safety despite the danger. Acts of incredible courage appeared everywhere. Medical personnel worked without rest. Soldiers who had never expected combat that morning suddenly found themselves in the middle of a battlefield. Many fought with whatever weapons they could find. Some anti-aircraft crews continued firing even as explosions erupted nearby. The attack wasn't limited to the harbor. Japanese aircraft also struck military airfields across Oahu. At Wheeler Field, Hickam Field, Bellows Field, and other installations, American aircraft were destroyed before they could even take off. Rows of planes were left burning on the ground. The attackers wanted to ensure that America could not launch an immediate counterattack. For nearly 2 hours, wave after wave of aircraft continued their assault. The sound of explosions echoed across the island. Families watched in terror. Many civilians had no idea what was happening. Some thought an accident had occurred. Others feared a full-scale invasion was beginning. As the attack continued, emergency responders rushed toward danger rather than away from it. Doctors operated on patients in overcrowded hospitals. Nurses treated hundreds of wounded men. Volunteers helped transport the injured. Despite the chaos, people worked together to save as many lives as possible. Eventually, the Japanese aircraft began leaving the area. The attack was over, but the devastation remained. The damage was staggering. More than 2,400 Americans had been killed. Over 1,000 others were wounded. Numerous ships had been sunk or heavily damaged. Hundreds of aircraft were destroyed. Pearl Harbor was left scarred by one of the most successful surprise attacks in military history. Across America, news spread rapidly. Radio broadcasts interrupted regular programming. Newspapers rushed out special editions. Families gathered around radios in disbelief. Many could not understand how such a devastating attack could happen without warning. Fear quickly spread throughout the nation. People wondered what would happen next. Would more attacks follow? Could the American mainland be targeted? How long would the conflict last? The following day, December 8, 1941, President Franklin D. Roosevelt addressed Congress. Millions listened as he delivered one of the most famous speeches in American history. He described the attack as a deliberate act of aggression and referred to December 7th as a date which will live in infamy. The speech lasted only a few minutes, but its impact was enormous. Congress voted overwhelmingly to declare war on Japan. The United States had officially entered World War II. For many young Americans, life changed overnight. Men lined up at recruitment centers. Families said emotional goodbyes. Factories shifted toward wartime production. The entire nation began preparing for a conflict that would span continents and oceans. What Japan had hoped would cripple America instead united it. The attack created a wave of determination unlike anything the country had seen before. Over the following years, American forces would fight across Europe, North Africa, the Pacific Islands, and countless other battlefields. The war would become one of the largest and deadliest conflicts in human history. Millions of people around the world would lose their lives. Entire cities would be destroyed. Generations would be changed forever. Yet the memory of Pearl Harbor remained at the center of America's wartime story. For survivors, the events of that morning were impossible to forget. Many remembered the sound of aircraft engines. Others remembered the explosions, the fire, and the screams. Some carried physical scars for the rest of their lives. Others carried emotional wounds that never fully healed. Decades later, veterans continued sharing their experiences so future generations would understand what happened. Today, the wreck of the USS Arizona still rests beneath the waters of Pearl Harbor. A memorial stands above it. Visitors from around the world travel there each year to pay their respects. The ship remains a final resting place for many of the sailors who died that morning. Oil still slowly rises from the wreckage, often called the Tears of the Arizona. It serves as a powerful reminder of the lives lost and the sacrifices made. Pearl Harbor was more than a military attack. It was a moment that changed world history. A peaceful Sunday morning became a day remembered across generations. A nation that had hoped to stay out of war suddenly found itself at the center of a global conflict. The attack lasted less than 2 hours, but its consequences would shape the world for decades to come. Even now, more than 80 years later, the story of Pearl Harbor continues to be told. It is a story of surprise, a story of tragedy, a story of courage, and a story of how a single morning changed the course of history forever.